Someone is replacing you right now. Not in a job, in a life. Someone is becoming the friend you stopped being. Someone is becoming the parent you keep promising to become. Someone is becoming the version of you that gave up years ago. This is happening right now, while you watch this. Time does not wait for permission. It does not care about your reasons. It does not care about your pain. It just keeps moving, and so does everyone else. Somewhere, someone is running while you are still stretching. That is not a motivational line. That is just what is happening. This will not be said gently again. Sit up, pay attention. The next 30 minutes either change something or they do not. Most people choose do not. Watch how fast that choice gets made without even noticing it. Nobody sends a notification when they have been overtaken. You just wake up one day and the gap is obvious to everyone but you. That is the real danger here, not the overtaking, the not noticing. This is not being said to scare you for fun. It is being said because gentle versions of this already failed to work. Being overtaken does not happen in one dramatic moment. It happens in 1,000 small moments that all look harmless by themselves. Skipping one thing looks harmless. Skipping the same thing 500 times does not. That is the math nobody wants to do out loud. Everything has a price. Staying comfortable has a price too. That price just gets billed later, always later. Look at what has already been paid this year, in shame, instead of in progress. Check the account, not the excuse, the account. That number is not bad luck, it is a receipt. A receipt for every choice made in silence. Being broke is not about the amount in the bank. It is about what gets sacrificed because the amount is too small. Sleep gets sacrificed. Health gets sacrificed. Self-respect gets sacrificed. Nobody puts that on the price tag when they hand you the easy option. The easy option is never actually cheap. It just hides the cost until later. Small purchases whisper, debt collectors shout. By the time it is loud, the bill has already grown. Stop pretending a coffee here and a purchase there does not add up. It adds up exactly the same way neglect adds up. Quietly, then all at once. Look at your spending like a confession. It tells the truth even when your mouth does not. Ask what percentage of income disappears into things that vanish by the weekend. Most people cannot answer that. That silence is the answer. Broke is not a place. It is a direction, picked without realizing it. Every plan to start saving next month pushes the actual start further away. Next month has said that exact thing to itself for years now. Money problems rarely start as money problems. They start as small avoided decisions that eventually cost real money to fix. A budget is not a punishment. It is just the truth, organized. Most people avoid budgets for the same reason they avoid mirrors. Not because the tool is bad, because the reflection is uncomfortable. Uncomfortable and wrong are not the same thing. Usually the reflection is uncomfortable because it is accurate. The mirror lies. It only shows today. It does not show the version of you eating better for a year. It does not show the version of you training for a year. It only shows the result of what actually happened. Right now, what actually happened is written all over that reflection. Out of breath after one flight of stairs is not an accident. It is a record of 1,000 small decisions to sit instead of move. Nobody stole your strength. It was traded slowly for comfort. Comfort did not even keep its side of the deal. You are not comfortable. You are just tired in a softer chair. A weak body drags down everything attached to it. Patience, mood, confidence, all of it gets quietly taxed by a body that cannot keep up. This is fixable. That is the only good news in this whole section. But fixable is not the same as fixed. Fixed requires actually moving. Today, the body keeps a record even when nobody else is watching. It shows up in energy that disappears by early afternoon. It shows up in patience that runs out faster than it used to. None of that is just getting older. Plenty of older people move better than this. The difference was never age, it was maintenance. A car falls apart without maintenance, regardless of how new it is. Bodies are no different. Nobody wakes up one morning suddenly unable to climb stairs. It builds for years, one skipped walk at a time. The reverse is also true. Strength builds the same slow way. There is no shortcut in either direction. Only the direction actually chosen every single day. A life funded by someone else's patience is a borrowed life. Borrowed things get called back eventually. Ask what the plan is for the day they get called back. If there is no answer, that silence is the real problem here. Depending on, someone is not the same as being loved by them. Plenty of people get carried by others who resent every step of it. Resentment is quiet at first. Then it shows up in short replies, long silences, tired eyes. Nobody says the support is exhausting them out loud very often. They just slowly stop. That slow stopping has probably already started somewhere in this life. Standing on your own is not about pride. It is about making sure nobody's love for you gets confused with a bill they are paying. Watch how quickly tone changes the moment. Help gets asked for one time too many. That change in tone is information, painful but accurate. Nobody enjoys being needed indefinitely. Even people who love and infinite patience are not the same thing. Confusing the two sets up a painful lesson for later. Independence is not cruelty toward the people who helped. It is the only real thank you that does not run out. Staying dependent forever is not gratitude. It is just staying stuck near the exit. Eventually, somebody has to walk toward it. Someone is running while you are still stretching. Remember that line. It was not just for the opening. Every day spent getting ready is a day the replacement spent moving. Replacements do not wait for anyone to feel ready. They just keep going, and the gap gets wider. Widen enough gaps and catching up stops being realistic. That is the real danger of waiting. Not that it feels bad. It becomes mathematically hard to undo. Every scrolling session is time handed straight to someone else's race. Every show binged is a lap given away for free. Nobody is forcing this. That is what makes it worse. This is chosen, quietly, almost every single day. Time does not send statements like a bank does. There is no monthly reminder of how much has been spent on nothing. So it has to be tracked on purpose, or it disappears completely unnoticed. A year from now, this exact video could be getting rewatched with the same problems intact. That has already happened before. Last year probably had a similar video, a similar promise. Check if anything is actually different since then. If not, the pattern is the problem, not the lack of information. More information was never the missing piece. Action was always the missing piece. Busy and productive are not the same word, no matter how similar they feel. A full day spent on nothing that matters is still an empty day. Check today against that measurement before calling it a good one. Most days will fail that test. That is exactly the problem being described. Walk into a room after doing nothing for a year. Watch how long it takes people to stop making eye contact. Now imagine walking into that same room after a year of real work. Same room, same people, completely different reaction. That is not the room changing. That is you changing what you walked in with. People do not respect potential. They respect proof. Potential has been talked about for years now. Proof has not shown up yet. That gap between the two is exactly what people can feel in a room. They cannot always explain it, but they can feel it. It shows up as who gets asked to leave. It shows up as who gets left out of the plan without an explanation. It shows up as whose opinion gets interrupted and whose does not. None of this is announced out loud. It just quietly happens, meeting after meeting, room after room. This is not about being liked. It is about being taken seriously. Right now, in most rooms, that is not happening. Be honest about that. Notice which conversations happen without you in the room anymore. Those conversations are not accidents either. People make quiet decisions about who gets included in the next chapter. In a lot of rooms, that decision has already been made. It can be changed. but not by complaining about the room. Only by changing what walks into it. Respect is quiet when it is present and loud when it is missing. Its absence gets noticed a lot faster than its presence does. That absence has probably already been noticed and explained away more than once. Explaining it away does not make it stop happening. There is a list somewhere of people who tried and are still remembered. There is a much longer list of people who tried once and disappeared. Nobody remembers the second list, not even the people on it. The difference was never talent. The difference was who kept their name in the game long enough to matter. One failed attempt puts you on neither list yet. What happens after the failed attempt decides which list gets your name. Quitting early does not erase the failure. It just makes sure the failure was the whole story instead of the first chapter. Nobody is impressed by a first chapter. They are impressed by an ending. There is no ending yet, which means there is still time to choose the list. Every person remembered for succeeding also has a season nobody talks about. A season of getting nowhere, embarrassingly, repeatedly. The season did not disqualify them. Stopping during the season would have. The season is not the failure. Stopping is. Every comeback story skips the part where nobody believed it yet. That part still happened. It is just not the part people repeat later. The disbelief of others was never actually the obstacle. Believing the disbelief was, plans can wait, faces cannot. The mirror keeps updating whether the plan does or not. Every year of waiting shows up on that mirror first, long before it shows up anywhere else. There will be a day. The body cannot cash the checks the mind keeps writing. That day is not announced in advance. It just quietly arrives, and things possible last year are not possible anymore. Ask anyone older what surprised them most about getting older. Most say the same thing, how fast it happened. Nobody feels old right up until the moment they are reminded of it. That reminder is not gentle when it finally comes. Better to move now while the mirror is still being generous. The years being waded through are not neutral. They are actively being spent whether they feel spent or not. Waiting does not pause the clock. It just wastes the time it is already taking. Nobody gets extra years for the ones spent waiting to feel ready. Nobody regrets the years they trained. Almost everyone regrets the years they meant to. Meant to does not show up in any result, ever. Only did shows up. Check the group chat. Really check it. Notice who used to text first and stopped. Notice who used to invite and stopped. That is not randomness. Groups do not go quiet on people by accident. They go quiet on people who stop contributing anything to be around for. Energy either adds to a room or drains it. Rooms remember which one you have been lately. Loneliness is often just an invoice for withdrawals nobody noticed making. Every canceled plan, every short reply, every maybe next time, all of it gets tallied somewhere, even if nobody says the number out loud. People do not owe endless patience. At some point, they spend their attention somewhere that gives something back. That is not cruelty either. That is just where energy naturally flows. Loneliness rarely announces itself directly. It shows up disguised as being busy every time real connection was possible. It shows up as a phone full of numbers and a night with nobody to call. Check which one of those this actually is. Isolation feels like something happening to someone. Most of the time, it is something someone slowly built unintentionally. One skipped call at a time, one canceled plan at a time. Nobody builds a wall in a day. It gets built one brick of avoidance at a time. Debt does not care about intentions. It does not care that the plan was to pay it back eventually. It just keeps adding a little more every single month, quietly. An invoice that never stops is not a bill. It is a leash. Every choice gets filtered through what the leash allows. Jobs get chosen because of debt, not because of desire. Relationships get strained because of debt, not because love ran out. Nobody talks about how much debt shrinks a life. Not just the bank account, the number of real choices available. Small debt ignored becomes large debt normalized. Normalized debt becomes a life sentence nobody handed down but you. The comfort bought on credit already left. Only the bill stayed behind. That is the whole trade every time. Temporary comfort for a bill that outlasts it. Nobody shows the total cost at the moment of purchase. It only shows up later, quietly, stacked on everything else already owed. The first debt rarely feels dangerous. That is exactly the trap. Dangerous things that felt dangerous immediately would be easy to avoid. The real threats are the ones that feel manageable right up until they are not. Nobody here is going to soften any of this. Not one line of it. It is not the right time. There is never a right time. Only a chosen one. Things are hard right now. Things are hard for the replacement too. They moved anyway. Nobody understands this situation. Understanding was never required to start. Only starting was required, and that part has been skipped. Every sentence that begins with an excuse ends in the exact same place. Nowhere. That pattern has already been proven, over and over this year alone. Continuing the pattern guarantees continuing the result. That is not an opinion. That is just how patterns work. Waiting to feel motivated first. Feelings were never a reliable coworker. Discipline shows up without needing to feel like it first. That is the entire difference between people who move and people who wait to feel like moving. Feelings can be invited. They should never be required. Nobody is asking for comfort in this message. Comfort was already tried. Comfort had months, sometimes years, to work. It did not. That alone should be enough evidence to try something else. Here is what happens the second this ends. Stand up. Drink a full glass of water before doing anything else. Open the banking app and actually read the number, all of it. Text the person that got quietly cut off, or finally admit the silence was a choice. Walk, run, lift, move, pick one and do it in the next hour. Write down the excuse used most often this year and cross it out. Not soften it. Cross it out completely. Apply for the thing that feels one size too big. Undersized ambition is just another form of hiding. Set a time tomorrow to deal with the bill that has been avoided. Put it in writing so it cannot be quietly ignored again. Stop rehearsing the comeback speech and start the comeback. Nobody is filming the rehearsal. Only the result counts. Delete whatever gets opened out of boredom 50 times a day. Replace that 50 times with 50 seconds of something real. Small, repeated, real. That is the entire formula. Nobody needs a bigger one than that. Look at the last 5 purchases made and ask which ones actually mattered. Cancel one thing this week that has been quietly draining money for no reason. Reach out to the one relationship left on read for too long. Pick the task avoided the longest and put it first tomorrow morning. Say the real number out loud, whatever it is. Numbers said out loud lose some of their power to hide. Pick one number from this month's spending that feels embarrassing and write it down. Sit with it for 10 seconds instead of scrolling past the feeling. That 10 seconds of discomfort is doing more than another hour of avoidance would. Call the one person owed an apology, not a text, a call. Put the workout on the calendar like it is a meeting that cannot be moved. Because it is. The replacement mentioned earlier is not fictional. It is a version of you living somewhere in the future, already ahead. Not because of luck. Because of every single day that just got described in this video. Days spent moving instead of waiting. That version is not stopping to see if you are coming. Nobody is coming to slow them down for you. None of this was said to be light. It was said because liked and helped are not always the same thing. Right now, helped mattered more. This ends in a few seconds. After that, it is just this life and the gap that has been quietly growing. Say it once, quietly, before this ends. The gap has been quietly growing. Now, go do something about the only part of that sentence that can still change. The gap was not created in a single bad year. It will not close in a single good day either. But every good day is the only thing that has ever closed a gap like this. Not motivation, not this video. Days. Catch up.